Welcome to the Weekend Spectator. My name is Reilly. I'm here with the one and only Paul Kengor, and we're going to be breaking down Trump's appointments, some of the mishandlings of Kamala Harris's campaigns, and more. So keep watching. It's great to be with you this week. And Paul, it's great to be with you as always.
Great and gracious grace, I come to you and our wonderful readers from the headquarters of the American Spectator. So we are here. I am in the great office of Volodymyr Plazinski. And see, here's our view outside the window. There's Hillary Clinton on a broomstick.
You've got Bill Clinton and R. Emmett Terrell Jr.
Yes.
You go wrong there.
Ellie's book, one of my books, cover of the American Spectator.
Yeah.
Lottie has different pictures on the wall of Bobby Knight throwing a chair at Indiana University. So I come to you from a historic office.
It is. It's like a museum. It's actually, especially if you're an American Spectator fan, it's really cool. And it was cool for me because I was there as an intern, so I got to learn a lot really quick because the whole office has all of these past magazine covers up everywhere. They have them archived all over the place. You have all sorts of things from the different writers there throughout the years, just pictures of different people they've met, spent time with. So it's a very cool office, and it's in beautiful Old Town Alexandria.
So last night we had a victory party for the election. Truth be told, we were planning on having this party anyway, but we turned it into a victory party that seemed
Our
an
lost party.
Yeah, but for those of you who are watching who are not subscribers, subscribe. If you subscribe, you get invitations to events like that. You get copies of the print edition. You get Dan Flynn's Daily Spectator AM, and it's not much. It's not expensive, you guys. I mean, it's really cheap.
It's
So
really
and you help pay our rent. I mean, no one here is getting rich, believe me, but you help support us. And when you get an invitation like that, you can come in and hang out with us like we did last night. I mean, we were here. We had drinks. We had good food. Had a good time. Jeffrey Lord was here. Number of other different writers, Bob Terrell, Volodymyr Plazinski, the office staff. So, subscribe, get on that email list, get on that list and hang out with us. It's a good time.
Oh, for sure. And it's so worth it for all the writing that you get to. I am lame. I was not at the event last night, but
Yeah, you were at the gala a few weeks ago.
I was at the gala, but it was a bit of it was going to be too difficult to get all the way there with work and whatnot. But no, I'm sad I missed it. But again, as he said, all of you could be invited just if you
Yeah,
subscribe.
well, and especially for the people who are nearby, right? I mean, a lot of people that read us are right here in the DC area. They could have been here in like 20 minutes. I mean, I got to drive here to get here about 4.5 hours from Western PA. You got to fly there from Florida. So, if you're in town in the area, there's no excuse, man. Just come, have a good time, meet everybody.
No, that's a great point. For sure. The American Spectator is the best, and I'm so thankful to still be working with the American Spectator. So much fun. Highlight of my week. And as we get into it today, I'd love to know if you have maybe a favorite and or least favorite appointment for the new cabinet. We do the favorites. I know we definitely want to talk about RFK because you talked to him before this happened. So in the lead up to this appointment by Trump, you talked to him, you got to hear some of his plans and thoughts behind the scenes about what would happen if Trump was elected. And now he's been appointed and we're seeing that in real time. It's a pretty cool full circle moment, especially for you.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I mean, I was really excited to see that. I thought he would have a role, of course, in the Trump administration. We knew that he would, but to name him Secretary of HHS, now he has to be approved, but I think he probably will be approved. I've seen some of the complaints I've seen from conservatives are that he's not pro-life, or they don't feel that he's sufficiently pro-life. In fact, he's not very pro-choice. He said every abortion is a tragedy. The more important thing is that's not his issue. He wants to go to HHS, not for anything to do with abortion, but his slogan, Maha, Make America Healthy Again, and most important, to take on big pharma and also to expose and get back at all the different people during the COVID vax mask fanaticism that was going on in 2020, 2021. So if you type his name into Google right now, We get a nasty little box that pops up and calls him an anti-vaccine conspiracy theorist, crackpot, anti-science, all kinds of names. And you were there at the gala. We talked about this. We did a Weekend Spectator on this after the gala. Up on stage, I asked RFK about it. I said, you Google your name and this pops up, this like smear against you, accusing you of misinformation. And he said, I know. And then you try to protest it, and you can't even protest it. They can't tell you what misinformation you're guilty of. And he said they wouldn't even you can't even edit his Wikipedia page. It's like locked and frozen on that. And then he said, in addition, that they created the new word malinformation. All right, you're not just in misinformation or disinformation. Desinformatio was the Russian word for that, right? But malinformation. So for him now to come along and be able to get back at the people, and I shouldn't put it that way. He's not vindictive, right? But if anybody is ever going to expose the people who created the clot shot, messenger RNA, if there's ever to be an investigation of the number of 18, 19, 20-year-olds that ended up with heart problems, being forced to take a vax that they didn't need, or be kicked out of school, the people who had to leave the military because they wouldn't be forcibly vaxxed, the first responders who were told in New York that they had to get the vaccine after they had all already had COVID the year before, because they had natural immunity. By the way, Bobby Kennedy said that to me. Said they call it natural immunity, right? Like you're making this up. Of course, natural immunity is the immunity that you have after you get sick. It comes to you naturally. So I hope that he'll go after all of those groups, and I bet the people at Pfizer and some of these other places are shaking their boots at the prospect of RFK Jr. taking that position.
Yeah, the stocks dropped immediately when he got appointed.
I saw that. Yeah,
That tells you everything you need to know from big.
it really does.
Yeah, and I'm very excited, even just for the simpler things. Like the thing, like part of the motivation beyond chronic disease of him doing this is that what a lot of people have been pointing out recently. We've kind of figured out that that these companies use all sorts of carcinogens in our products. They use all
Oh
sorts
yeah.
horrible chemicals in our foods. It's unacceptable and awful. And it explains part of why there's all this chronic disease, why there's so much obesity and people can't lose weight, because the food that we're eating is poisoned effectively. But you don't see that in Europe. In Europe,
No.
they have these chemicals banned, and the companies adhere to that, and they eat a lot healthier as a whole. And that's why I think it's the most exciting, because if we could even see some movement to have our country be healthier, that's a huge deal. And I've seen arguments too where they think it's too big government for him to go and control this sort of thing. But I mean, what I would say to that is, I mean, the conservative position, it cares about order and about, the best thing too. And I think banning harmful chemicals is a good thing. They should
And he spent his
never,
entire life on this, right?
yeah, and
On
these
that.
are things that never should have been legal in the first place. I mean, it's poisoning people, giving them diseases, and it should never be acceptable at all. I mean, it's actually crazy that it's gone this far without people caring about it or doing something about it. So people on both sides are super excited about him and about this. I mean, easily, I think people are overall the most excited about this. And talk about unity. I mean, who would have thought? So Trump has, we've been told, been the most divisive figure who's brought all this division to politics, allegedly. But yet, who would have thought that he gets elected and he's bringing people like RFK, he's bringing Tulsi on board, all these very interesting people, former Democrats. I mean, talk
Democrats.
about unity. It's a power team for sure.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. But on the way, he's a health fitness freak, right? I mean, the way he eats, the way he exercises. I do the same thing. I live my life the same way. And first thing I do, like when I get to a hotel, like here in Old Town yesterday, is I ran 5 miles on the elliptical. But my wife is the
I am
same
right
way.
now because I did cross country. I was a huge runner growing up, but so I need to get back into it because I've fallen off a little bit. So I've got to
Well,
take.
running outside will really kill your joints, and it really affects you as you get older. So I learned to do things like elliptical, rowing machine, other kind of cardio stuff. But he's learned too. My wife is the same way. I mean, when you feel sick, if you feel sickness coming on, take some vitamin C, take some zinc, but above all, exercise for an hour, boost your immunity. It's amazing how well it works. The worst thing you can do is go to your supermarket with your welfare check or debit card and get Doritos and Pepsi and all that junk, because your body has to fight that stuff off. I mean, I worked in immunology, I worked in organ transplantation. When you put foreign substances like that in your body, people wonder why they're tired after they eat that way, because your body's like fighting off what you just put into it. Now, if you had eaten an orange or almonds or something like that, it's like naturally goes into your body. And what you said about people being overweight in America and Europe, you were in Italy last year. I mean, you get off the plane and I think you flew into Milan too. I flew into Milan. It's like,
That's
wow,
what the Americans are.
yeah, it's like, boy, everybody here looks great.
And the
Right?
food
And then,
was
and
great.
then, and then
It's
you get in America and they're slobs, the airport. They're fat. And you need the big long escalators and everything because people don't even like to walk. I mean, it's an American problem.
well, and the food in Europe is such better quality that you can, in a
Oh,
sense,
it's so much.
eat more of it and not gain weight, whereas here you can eat less but still be stuck in a cycle of gaining weight because of the stuff that's in our food, because of all the seed oils, chemicals, everything else like that. And I was laughing before because whenever you brought up exercising when you're sick, I have to tell everyone I remember a day where Paul Kengor was teaching a class at Grove City College. He had a fever, was super sick. He stumbled in, said he ran like 2 miles right before the class because, and then I don't know if you finished the whole class or canceled it, but you do power through it.
Yeah, yeah. No, it makes you feel better. It boosts your immunity. I mean, no question about it. And
It
like,
yeah,
yeah, I'll make it another Italy comparison. You eat pizza in Italy, which is famous for pizza, and then you come and you eat it in America, and there's like a half an inch of cheese on it in America. The Italians just can't believe that we're doing that to their pizza, right? Or like, are we so fat in America today that cheesecake is now a topping on ice cream? Right? It doesn't taste good when you add all the, smothered with pepper jack or whatever jack cheese. I don't want that junk on my food. That's going to ruin it. Put olive oil and salt and pepper on it. That's all you need for it. You don't need all that junk.
no,
But
exactly.
but anyway, Maha, make America healthy again. So
That
that's RFK Jr.'s thing, right? Right.
it is true. The comparison of the current health person versus RFK. It's a great point. I mean, who do you want to take advice from? You've got
Right.
Jack RFK, or you have this transgender who Rachel Levine, is it?
Rachel Levine, yeah, Richard Levine. That's his, yeah, Dick Levine is what Andrew Wilkow calls him. Yeah, Richard Levine is his original name. And by the way, that gets us to another pick, right? People are complaining that Pete Hegseth doesn't have like, I don't know, 4 stars or something. Rachel Levine does. So Biden promoted Rachel Levine to some sort of like general. It's like, are you kidding me? And I must say, when I was watching CNN, it was maybe Monday or Tuesday night, and it was Erin Burnett's show, and the line underneath said, Trump taps Fox News anchor to be Secretary of Defense. And I thought, all right, there you go again, CNN. It's probably a regular pundit who's on Fox all the time. It wouldn't be an anchor. And then I found out, whoa, it is an anchor.
But the thing is, he was
He's
an anchor after he was he's extremely accomplished
Yeah,
militarily. He's
that's right.
a perfect pick and he has the background for this position specifically. He became an anchor after all of that. He has the
Right.
background, he has the knowledge, everything like that. But of course, CNN wants to leave that out and say it's just a TV pundit, which could not be further from the truth. I mean,
Yeah, he has 2 Bronze Stars, right? Tours in Afghanistan, Iraq. By the way, also degrees from Princeton and Harvard.
he's
And and also too, one of the books that he did, which was I got multiple copies of the book sent to me by different people at Grove City College, parents and trustees. He understands wokeism, cultural Marxism, Frankfurt School, and you're not supposed to call it cultural, but all that stuff. He understands all that stuff. So he's somebody who's going to fight against that in the military. And you want someone from within the military, within the Pentagon? Are you sure? Look at what sissies those guys are and the way they follow orders on whatever woke command they're given to, on this transgender issue or whatever. I mean, those guys, a lot of those guys are just cowards when it comes to standing up to the bureaucracy. They'll do anything that their commander in chief tells them to do, right? No matter how absurd it is. I'm not talking about in combat, taking orders during war. But you probably need someone like Pete Hegseth to go in there and shake things up. And previous secretaries of defense, William Cohen, for example, Clinton's secretary of defense, he didn't have any military background at all. I'd rather have a guy who has a military background than somebody who was just elected to the Senate in Maine and doesn't have any military background.
Yeah, I mean, and he also understands like just the geopolitical situation very well. On top of his military background and the way that like he's just brilliant and knows what he needs to know about it. And kind of what you're saying with shaking things up, that's what all of Trump's picks are going to do, guaranteed. I mean, he's cleaning house, and I think that it's refreshing because in a sense it's like now we've woken up in a different place where there's a lot more possible and we can envision and imagine
With
backtrack.
with Elon Musk, I think, with Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, I think, yeah,
That's
those are a big deal. Those are a big deal. I'm a huge Marco Rubio fan, always have been. I was hoping he'd be secretary, or I was hoping he'd be the VP pick. I knew it came down to him or JD, and I thought either one would be good. And I told people at the time, including people who didn't like Rubio, I said, hey, start liking him, because if he's not VP, he's going to be Secretary of State. So I love the pick of him as Secretary of State. He's Rubio's really smart. He is. He's really, and also too, I'll make this prediction here now. 2028 ticket, JD Vance and Marco Rubio. And Trump got 46% of the Latino vote. He over 50% of Latino men. And if you put Rubio on the ticket in 2028, it will make Hispanic Americans Republicans for generations, as they should be, because they're not Democrats. They're pro-family people. They don't like any of the transgender ideology stuff. They're pro-life. They're mostly Roman Catholic. They need to be Republicans. And I think having a Rubio Vance ticket, either with Rubio at the top or the bottom of the ticket, probably be Vance at the top, I would imagine. I don't know. Rubio's still pretty young. They're both young. But they're really now positioned for that in 2028. So Trump has really helped the party there for 2028 in a way that I think a lot of anti-Trump Republicans don't appreciate.
well, and I think too, yeah, I understand that point. I think what people didn't expect is, I mean, I didn't expect it to be such a bright looking future, I guess, if that makes sense, where
Yeah, yeah.
everyone even thought, like, it's even Republicans who don't like Trump thought it was the end of the world that he was even running again. But I think that this has put us in a great position. I mean, I think everyone should be able to agree on that.
And look, Mark Cuban complaining about Trump didn't have any strong women around him, which is maybe
Ridiculous.
one of the stupidest statements anybody ever made, because it's just obvious if you pay any attention to Trump that he's surrounded by strong
Surrounded.
women.
Oh,
But
most of the people he has around him are women, and they're
right.
very clearly intelligent, accomplished, powerhouse women. So
And
that
now
was
he's got Kristi Noem, right, at Homeland Security, and his chief of staff is going to be the first female chief of staff, Tulsi Gabbard. So he's making really good picks there. Now to get to this one, I'll let you answer this. What about Matt Gaetz?
we'll see.
Your opinion?
I did not expect it, and what I
No.
will say, I didn't expect it at all. But what one thing that Megyn Kelly said, so I was just watching some analysis on it because I hadn't given much thought to the like attorney general position. I hadn't really looked into it. I never would have expected Matt Gaetz for any reason, but point being, like, it just wasn't something that I was paying too much attention to. So I just watched some other commentators, and Megyn Kelly's point, which I think does make sense, is that for Trump, he got so screwed over before by appointing people that hate his guts and were making his life a living hell effectively. So what he's done now with all of his picks is he's picked people who are guaranteed to be loyal to him. And I get it. But I don't know. Who do you think he should have picked?
I don't know. I mean, I hadn't given any thought either to
I
the
had it.
attorney
That's the
general.
thing. I hadn't given it any thought, but when I saw
Right.
it, whoa, I
When
didn't.
I saw that, I thought, oh man,
People are gonna go crazy over
they're gonna
this.
go crazy. I had to laugh at it. We invited, it's funny, there's our spectator connections. RFK Jr. was our gala speaker along with Rand Paul, but we had Matt Gaetz was our Saturday Evening Club speaker about a year and a half ago, and Bob Terrell kicked him out before before it even started. And Bob wrote about it at the time. You can find this on our website. And because of things that happened in the lead up to that, which prompted Terrell to not like
Yeah, and I
what
don't even
Gates
know.
was doing, put it that
Yeah,
way.
I heard the story once. I don't even know all the details. I've met him. I've met Matt Gaetz before, and I liked him. He was a nice guy, but
Yeah.
yeah, obviously a lot there. And yeah, I didn't expect this.
He walked into the room that day at the Capitol Hill Club, I think it was, and came in smiling, and his wife was with him. And I thought, oh man, they look like, I'm going to say hi to them and talk to them, and be welcoming. But whatever happened early on happened, and so Bob cut the whole thing off. But it's now I don't think he would get approved, Matt Gaetz. I don't think he's going to get, let alone Democrat votes. I don't think he'll get enough Republican votes. And it was very interesting that he resigned altogether his Florida seat.
I know.
Um, yeah, which was really kind of surprising. Although somebody told me he's under investigation, and so that was possibly in peril anyway. So that's why he left that seat. But he could be seatless altogether several months from now without his congressional seat and without approval by the Senate for his position, which I think is probably going to be the case.
Yeah, I have no idea. He's been one that it's been interesting to kind of watch him throughout the years in the sense that he's kind of like Vance in a sense where he's an excellent debater and things have kind of the focus has shifted from stuff like that in recent years because of all the House Speaker things and all of that drama and whatnot. But before that, I always really liked him because he was always the guy who was on the floor just firing off all these great points. I mean,
Right, right.
passion that was kind of like unseen by other people. It was just clearly a skill of his to be able to debate and just completely dismantle the Democrats who were there. And so I always appreciated that about him. But
Agreed.
of course, though, the progression, that's kind of what the focus had been for a while. That's how he got so big and well known. Then all the Speaker of the House stuff happened, then other stuff. And
Which
then
was
now
really wild.
I know. And then now, who knows, maybe attorney general, but I think you're probably right that it'll be hard to get the votes.
It would be nice to see somebody though go in and really clean up the corruption of the Department of Justice.
I have
Now,
no doubt.
I know people think that he's corrupt, but
I
it's
don't
kind of
feel
like you need someone to go in there and shake it up, and
yeah.
he's somebody that would really do it.
And I think, and that's why that's another thing I like about him. I do actually like that he doesn't care and that he will go shake things in a hopefully good way if he were to be put in that position. But all of these people that have been appointed are going to do the same thing. So I'm really intrigued and excited to see. I mean, what a lineup. This whole week seeing
Yeah,
and someone commented on social media saying that this is like the NFL draft, that they've never seen people pay this much attention.
right, right.
It's true. I don't think
Yeah,
I've ever paid this much attention. I don't think I've ever seen people pay this much attention, but everyone's on the edge of their seats seeing this stacked lineup. It's crazy.
it started with Tuesday night, right, November 5th. In fact, I watch Monday Night Football game. My kids will tell you that when the Steelers are on a Monday night, I stand in front of the TV the whole time. I can't sit down. That's kind of how crazy I am about football. So it'd be like 12 o'clock at night, the game's in overtime, and I'm yelling at the TV set. That's what I was doing on November 5th. I think I stood until 1:30, 1:45 in the morning. I don't think I actually sat down on the couch till almost 3 o'clock, right? So that was like watching a sporting event, especially because with Trump, he's behind, and then he kind of catches up. It stays like Pennsylvania, right? And he's got her, he caught her. So now it's like 17-17,
Georgia, this
right?
time
And
around,
then
Georgia, North Carolina were, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was like watching a sporting event. You don't know the end yet. You don't know how it's going to. It was very dramatic, play by play, moment by moment, until somebody finally calls it. And that's and ever since then, it's been like 2 or 3 weeks of a lot of fun. Probably not a lot of fun if you're a liberal, right? But think about this though from like the perspective of not MSNBC, they're insane. But somebody at CNN who might be more reasonable, maybe a Dana Bash or someone like that. I actually think Jake Tapper is pretty fair too. By the way, Jake Tapper wrote cartoons for us at the American Spectator in the early 1990s.
Oh,
Um, yeah, 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 he's an interesting guy. But someone like that has got to think to themselves, this is a lot more interesting, at least, than continuing the Biden term through Kamala with all the same people. They've got to be kind of enjoying this, at least from a news interest story. It's fun to watch.
I do. This just makes me think of it's a bit on a different note, but the Trump meetup with Biden, how all of the sudden the Democrats, so Kamala Harris, we talked about in her uh in the speech where she stepped out of the race when and declared Trump the winner, she all of a sudden said, "Oh, it's going to be fine with Trump." Then Biden during this meeting's laughing, smiling, taking pictures with him. So just that tied with the media. So all these people who are calling him the biggest threat to democracy, Hitler, and all this other stuff, all of a sudden are saying, actually, it's fine.
Right. Yeah, yeah. By the way, that's a good thing to wrap up with. His meeting with Biden. So on one respect, I know it was a great moment of unity, and I'll praise that in a minute. But you're right. If Trump was really Hitler and fascist, who was going to destroy democracy, and this is the Third Reich coming to Washington, Biden should have been frowning, scowling, probably refused to meet with him. They should have probably handcuffed the guy. All right. But instead, Biden was all smiles. Couldn't have been more civil. Couldn't have been more than a gentleman. I was teaching classes that day at Grove City College, and I came home, and my son said, "Have you seen the pictures of of Trump and Biden?" I said, "No, I haven't." You got to take a look at this. And the pictures, I mean, they look like they're having a blast. They look like they're ready to have a beer together, right?
They're having a much better time than Jill Biden and Kamala Harris did.
Ha, for sure. Yeah, in fact, you should put that up on the screen, right? Contrast those two images, Jill and Kamala and Joe and Trump. But they got along really well, and it was really good and pleasant to see. And I mean, in the debate a few months ago, Biden comes out on the stage with Dan Flynn described it as a catatonic like stare, kind of, right? And then he and Trump go at each other. It's like you throw a couple switchblades out there, and let these two guys go at it. They're practically spitting at each other. They dislike each other so much. But this past week, it was all love. I mean, they looked like they were old time best friends.
Oh,
Used to hang out together in Scranton and Brooklyn. I mean, amazing.
and of course, the memes have taken off, saying, putting the picture and then a headline above saying, we elected you together," sort of thing. Of they both comment
Yeah, right.
dates, or they say like there's been a really funny video with the look on Biden's face basically saying that he elected her. So there's all sorts of things. And before we actually close, we have one more thing to laugh at, and it's Kamala Harris's debt and deficit spending, as she said that she was going
Uh,
to create an opportunity economy. Kamala Harris said, despite all of the questions and accusations and everyone pointing out, from the press to the people to everyone pointing out that the economy is not good right now, which she continually denied, and said that she was going to fix, and all sorts of things we all remember. Well, the woman who was apparently going to be the best thing that's ever happened to the economy, pay she's 20 million, 20 million in debt from her campaign.
yeah,
I'll read she spent $1 billion in 3 months. She gave
amazing.
10 million to Beyonce, 5
Oh,
to Megan the Stallion, 1.8 million to Eminem, 1 million to Oprah, 2.3 million to Lizzo, all for those endorsements. And now she's 20 million in debt.
mm. It's astonishing. And these liberals, right? They all talk about Republicans and they're rich and they're fat cat millionaires and billionaires. Oprah's worth $3 billion, right? I mean, if they're going to help her in her campaign, if they're going to give her an interview. I mean, since when does a candidate pay the interviewer, someone like Oprah, to do the interview? When does that? I mean, this probably violates some sort of FCC regulations. That's not the right FCC,
Oh,
but yeah, exactly. So, yeah, some sort of political regulation, and also too, she gave like $500,000, I think $500,000, to Al Sharpton's organization, and in turn for perhaps a quid pro quo endorsement, perhaps, I don't know. All right, it stinks. It doesn't look good, and I mean that is really suspicious. And if I was a liberal, I would be livid over that.
well, and
The people that worked for Trump,
you know
yeah,
that
Elon Musk didn't ask for $1 million.
Elon Musk gave millions.
Right, right.
Elon
And I,
Musk
and I,
millions.
and I can see paying somebody like, if there's a certain singer who's not really well known who goes to every Trump event, and I'm not saying Lee Greenwood necessarily, but would sing like God Bless America or something like that, and they're on the road. Okay, that person probably needs money, right? But someone like Oprah or Bon Jovi or Beyonce or whoever, I don't know if Bon Jovi took money or not, but John Bon Jovi, but they it's just so hypocritical. It's just awful. It just shows what hypocrites liberals are.
Yeah, and I think the amount too is the problem. I mean, the one thing, like the industry is how it is, where people get
Hey, it's
paid.
just other people's money, right? Yeah, it's like Margaret Thatcher said about
Someone here,
socialism.
another great tweet is listing out. So this person, Tony, he listed out all of these different amounts that were given to the celebrities and saying, but Hurricane Helene victims only received 750.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Problem
mean,
with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money. That's what she ran into. But it's like,
honestly, that's
hey,
all.
this is consistent with a big government liberal like hers, which is it's somebody else's money, right? So what do I care? It's somebody else's money. Just shove it out.
And the fact, and it was clear too when the rapper Cardi B couldn't speak off script about Kamala and she had to wait until someone brought her a phone with the exact script.
Oh, oh.
That was really an obvious one. But with all of these together, if you I mean, it
So
makes
glad she didn't
it
win. That
worse
kind of
that she had to
garbage going on.
try that she had to try that hard to get these endorsements makes it even for those of us who are happy about this outcome funnier that it was such a big loss and she really paid them that much and
Yeah.
now it's 20 million in debt from her campaign. It's
Somebody said to me at our party last night,
she was
well, the
gonna run
Democrats, what's that?
she was gonna run the country.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, somebody said to me last night, the Democrats are now going to pour all their resources into the final Senate race to defeat McCormick for Bob Casey Jr. And I thought, they're out of money. If they can't devote any resources to it, which they can, they always find money anyway. But they could blame Kamala for that. But yeah, that's it's really a metaphor, a symbol, isn't it, for how she would have run the country.
Yeah,
And
no, it
Trump now is going to run it like a business. That's why he's bringing in people like Musk and Vivek. And Musk says we want people who want to work 80 hours a week without pay to cut government regulations. That's the thinking of the people who were at Trump's rallies, not the thinking of the people who were paid off to come to Kamala's rallies.
care about the outcome. They're passionate about the mission, which is important. So
Yeah.
bright future looking forward. But hang on to your seats because it's crazy and entertaining, that's for sure. We're watching the draft and it will continue to roll out. So we'll see what's changed next week. But every week is crazier, and the amount of things that happen in each week. I mean, we can't even begin to hit all of it. It's pretty wild, but what a time to be alive. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Make sure that you go check out spectator.org and subscribe there if you haven't. And also just make sure that you keep up with our latest episodes, like, share with your friends, subscribe. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Hey, and take this link if you liked it and forward it to 20 friends and tell them to forward it, post it on X or your social media platforms, Facebook, wherever, and help spread the word with us. So, grazie, grace.
Absolutely. See you next week.
See you all next week.